Hello everybody, you're listening to Mark Ling, and in today's webinar you're going to be learning about website promotion and link building secrets, and I've got with me a special guest called Jason Gell, and Jason is a search engine optimization master. He's really good at getting high search engine rankings, and he's going to be teaching you a lot of fantastic information here today. First of all, Jason, welcome along. And would you mind just giving people just a little bit of background information about yourself before getting stuck in with all the great content that you've got to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I have what you call kind of a unique background. Definitely not the traditional sense for a lot of the people that you are probably used to hearing. I actually came up on a science background. I went to college for bio. As I was in school for bio, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I started thinking of what actually goes into being a doctor, and I said, wow, this isn't really what I want to do at all. So I went into research. I went into graduate school. I actually got my PhD in pharmacology. During the time, I came to realize that a PhD in pharmacology actually doesn't really pay very much, ironically. So if you get your doctorate, you cap out at like $45,000 a year if you want to work in a lab and actually do the kind of research that makes a difference to people. So I quickly scattered around, and I spent quite a bit of time in forums, coming up, learning like a lot of other people probably on this call, learning SEO, learning SEM until I got to a point where I was very proficient at it. In doing so, I landed quite a few pretty good-sized consulting jobs. I started working for Brad Collin. A lot of you may know or be familiar with Brad Collin. I've worked with him for probably about 3 or 4 years now, doing a lot of his training. I'm one of those kind of behind-the-scenes type of guys, working for Brad for a while now. And now, as of right now, I work with Brad, and I also do some consulting. Right now, one of the big jobs I'm on is actually for a very, very large company, $5 billion a year company, managing SEO and SEM. So it's been a pretty interesting ride for me. Right now, you could say I'm probably not using any of my doctoral degree in my daily life, but I'm definitely very happy with where I am right now. It was an interesting ride. So what I came in to talk to you guys today about is, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, no. I just thought you paused, so I thought you were waiting for me to say something. I was just going to ask you if you would mind just carrying on with your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today about was what we consider to be our site promotion fundamentals. This is largely when we come in, we develop a new website, and we're actually going through the process of bringing it into the search engines and building up its rank. So this is a very SEO-focused presentation. A lot of it's about link building, but it's also a lot about traffic, because ultimately link building ends up with traffic. So everything that you'll see here either is driven to gain links with the intent of getting higher ranking in the search engines, or to just get straight out traffic with the intent of getting more conversions. So that's why we call it site promotion fundamentals. So as Mark mentioned a little bit ago, I did want to talk about some of the basics for some of the people who may be a lot newer with these systems. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Google, how they measure rank, how they assess rank. Google measures rank on a large number of ranking factors. Some say over 100. It's probably quite a bit more than 100 factors. Now, understanding these factors does help assure that your pages will always rank well and get targeted traffic, which is a key factor in determining whether or not you'll actually make money. Now, what the beauty of this is that the Internet creates a level playing field for us, because anyone can create a website and anyone can rank for a term if you're willing to work at it. And I know Brad's stories, my stories, stories of people just all across the web have shown that anybody can step in and get any term if they put enough time and effort into it. So the first thing that everybody always talks about is on-page factors, and I'm not going to dive into this because I'm sure you've heard it ad nauseum. On-page factors, when I go into a consulting job, this is something we do it once, we get it right, we never look at it again. But you'd be surprised on how many times that I'll walk into a situation and people won't understand what a title tag is or what an H1 tag is. So if you want to know what on-page factors are and how to do them right, just look at Wikipedia. So I pulled up a cached copy of the Swiss cheese page on Wikipedia, and it automatically highlights where the keywords are used. They're in the title, they're in the H1, they're mixed in the content. These are base level optimizations. And that could be dwindling too. So as long as you have your titles right and as long as you have your H1s and your content's focused enough, you'll be fine with on-page. So that's something that we really don't even think about that much anymore. So if we don't think about that, what essentially drives rank? So the internet is essentially, as I like to describe it, a popularity contest that you are trying to win. So if you're in there and you're hiding out and your website's out there, nobody knows about it, you're never going to rank. But if you hang out with other people, if you socialize with people, you participate in other networks, you will get rewarded. Now the analogy that I like to use for this is, so if I walk into a bar, I'm by myself, there's tons of popular people, and I sit down at a stool, nobody's going to come over and talk to me. But let's say I walk into a bar with somebody like Brad Pitt right next to me, or Jessica Alba right next to me. I'm immediately going to get noticed, and I'm immediately going to get a lot more attention than I would if I hadn't associated with somebody that's really credible, really famous, just somebody that's really, really well known. That's how the internet works too. So if I go in and I associate myself with a really well-known popular web page, then it's going to make it a lot easier for other web pages to notice me. It's going to make Google notice me a lot faster. So I'll win that popularity contest, which essentially makes ranking that much easier. Now, the reality of Google is that Google, of course, cannot actually read your page, so it doesn't know what your page is about. It's a computer algorithm. It's just a program. So the question is, of course, how can Google tell who should rank #1? And this is done through those recommendations through other websites. These are known as the off-page factors. So if you consider two websites, something like Site A, it has a couple links coming in pointing to it. It's not necessarily going to be considered to be the best resource for whatever that topic is. But then if you look at Site B, everybody that links to Site B talks about it as the best site for blue widgets. Then Google's going to look at Site B. It's going to look at all these other links pointing to it saying blue widgets, and it's going to automatically say that since all these people recommend this site as the resource for blue widgets, I think it's a really good resource that I would recommend to the search results. So Google is essentially following that popularity contest using links as the platform. Now the other thing that's really important, you've probably already heard this before in some other webinars from Mark, is keywords. And I can't stress keywords as a focus enough. I've done multiple training pieces, written guides, done webinars just like this, just on keywords alone. Google ranks content based on keywords. So you write content, you structure pages, and you target based on those keywords. So successful SEO strategies are, of course, structured around these. So if a website rank depends on links, then keyword-specific rank is dependent upon keyword-specific links. So it's not enough anymore to just have links, as Google is looking for things like link popularity, link age, topic authority, reputation, and of course link anchor text. And that's where keyword-specific links come in. Now the tactics that I described here are all going to be focused around driving growth of keyword-specific links. Because in the simplest form, if you have more keyword-specific links than the other guy that's already ranking #1, then your chances of unseating that person is actually very good. So it's all based on all in anchor type factors. So if you're really driving the number of links that point back to your site on your keyword, you're really going to be in much better positions to outseed the people that are ranking right now. So the most simplistic view of rank is the site with the most and best, and that's an important factor, of course, links pointing to it using the proper keyword anchor text will stand the best chance of ranking. So ranking, as I mentioned earlier, 20 to 30% on page, 70 to 80% off page, which is those links. So your links determine your ranking for your keywords, and this is ultimately where 90% of webmasters fail. To rank, you need the right links, and you need enough links that point back with the right terms. So if you're in bad neighborhoods, if your total link value, you're linking in just very poor quality, low PR sites, low traffic sites, non-index sites, this is where I see most people really kind of bombing out. And I've done tons and tons of site reviews, And the things that I always run into is you don't have enough links or you're not targeting the right keywords, so even if you did rank, you wouldn't get traffic. So unfortunately, I can't talk about all those things because I have a whole lot of linking tools that I want to get through. And this is just kind of like a smattering of the types of things that I'm going to be talking about here. I mean, social bookmarking tools, online video, content sharing networks, blogging, microblogging, photo sharing. And once you start to really kind of look out into the internet and see where it's gone these days, and the internet has really kind of sprawled out, and it's developed these networks, these mini nets of content sharing sites or user-submitted content sites. And this has really allowed us a limitless pool of link networks. As I started to put this together, I was kind of running into roadblocks saying that, like, I have so much to talk about here that I actually could not even put all the information together that I wanted to discuss. So you're getting, as much as I hate to say it, an abbreviated version of everything that you could potentially be using as link building tools. But these are ones that I put together that I know that we use on a regular basis, and I'll show you later on some of the end results that we get just by using tools like this. So some of the ones that I wanted to talk about first are some really quick, easy links. And I know you said get a pen and paper. My suggestion to you is just take a screenshot of these. So what we use these for, and these are meta sites. Meta sites are basically designed to go out there and collect information on web statistics. So StatBrain, Alexa would be considered a meta sites. These are collators which pull in data and try to get a basic idea of how popular a website is or how much traffic a website gets. These are actually some of the easiest links you can get. Now there's about 10 or 11 on here. Like I said, take a screenshot. I'll show you another slide in a second. These are usually where I start. And the reason I start with these is I want to get my website indexed. And these are usually surefire ways to get pages indexed or get domains indexed, when I'm just starting out a new website. Now, there's lots of ways to do this. This one's always been very effective for me. So basically, all you really need to do to get these links is take that URL, go in, type in statbrain.com / and then type in whatever your domain is. And then in all these, you just replace your domain with your actual domain. So here's another set of them that you can see here, and I showed you the StatBrain example. So you go to the website.
Hold on just for a sec.
Sure.
Just go back to the last slide. For those of you that want to take a screenshot and aren't sure how to take a screenshot, all you do is you press print screen on your computer. And then if you load up Microsoft Word or maybe an image viewing piece of software, you just press Control V. That's Control and V, or Apple V if you're on an Apple, to paste, and that'll paste the screenshot. So you just press print screen on your computer to capture it. Okay, I'll let you carry on.
Okay, so this is the first set of them. There's probably about 20 here total. This is the second set of them. I'll leave this up for a minute as I talk to it. But again, the example that I gave was statbrain.com. It's as simple as just going to the website. You could either just type it in up here and you'll go directly to the endpoint, or you can go to each one of these and you can dump in your URL, like right here. It says enter website. I'll just type my website in right here. I'll hit check, and then as you can see right there, it says estimated number of visits for website.com. Well, I entered in website.com for this example. Now this right here becomes a live link back to my website. Google crawls that page and comes back and indexes my site. So your site cannot be ranked. It cannot even be put into consideration for any kind of value from Google if it's not indexed. So I always use this as a jumping off point for me to get that first set of links just to get my pages indexed. And I know a lot of people do run into this problem. Of course, you may have to make sure that your site has a really, really good architecture and it can get in, crawl through all your pages. So all that means is from my home page, I got to make sure that there's ways to get through every one of my pages through links. Then Google won't have any trouble indexing me. Okay, so that was one. The next thing that we'll do is we'll still use classifieds. And as I start to work in this business for a lot of years, some of these things that we talked about a long time ago, then we've moved on to things like Web 2.0, and I'll talk about those as well. But then they drop off the map and say, well, that doesn't work so much anymore. We don't use that anymore because we have this thing. Now, the difference between good website promotion strategies and website promotion strategies that may not tend to be as effective is that good website promotion strategies use every single tactic available to them. So you diversify your link profile, you get in as many potential domains linking back to you as possible, and in doing so, this gives you a much more quality or a higher quality link profile, and it makes it a lot easier for you to rank. So I would suggest diversifying your link portfolio as much as potentially possible. So as we talk about some of the other methodologies, you may think to yourself, okay, well, I'm just going to do directories, or I'm just going to do articles. I would suggest you sprawling out into other avenues. Now, some of these avenues are things like classifieds. Craigslist, US Free Ads are two sites that we've used for years, and these still work. Again, these are really good tools to get sites and links indexed. So this can work with links, whereas the previous example of the quick links, the meta sites, those generally only work with domains. So if you have a stubborn link or a stubborn section that you just added to your website, you need to get that indexed, then I would be using tools like classifieds to do that. These are super quick, these are free, and they're very easy to do. Now, on a tactical level, here's the types of things that I do. So on Craigslist, I'll go in and I'll pick out 10 regions. I'll go into the small business section and I'll post a little ad about my website in the small business section. In the US Free Ad site, I will use my keyword as anchor text in my classified ad. In Oodle, this is oodle.com, I will use my site's URL as my listing URL. Same with ePage. You can't have anchor text in that, which is fine. You're still getting the link back, so I'll just post my link back in my ad. So these are all avenues where I can get another, so 10 for Craigslist, 11, 12, 13 free links. Probably takes me about 20 minutes to do. These are anchor text focused, and quite a few of them, and really, really good means to go out and get pages indexed at a very quick rate. With some of these, you do have rollover, so the link will fall out of the index over time, but it serves the purpose that I need it to serve at that time, which is indexing. So these are ones that I highly suggest to people to use as tools kind of in your arsenal and pull them out when necessary. So that's classifieds. Now, directories. This is another one that I think a lot of people kind of have fallen off on because they hear they get a bad rap. The biggest thing that I suggest with directories is really focusing in on local, so local literally on a local level. Look for things like Chamber of Commerce, look for things like local universities, look for things like niche-specific directories. Surprisingly, there's quite a few directories for a ton of things. One example that I did, I optimized, it was a construction website not too long ago. I found probably somewhere in the neighborhood of around 50 niche directories for this construction website. Just poking around in Google, looking at backlink profiles for existing ranking websites, and I just plugged in, dumped the site in there, and before I knew it, this site was ranking. A lot of times with niche directories in particular, the authority that's given to that particular niche is driven by those directories because they're so heavily cross-linked. So for whatever the main construction website was, it was always linked to this directory. Then the second one would be linked to that directory. So you would see the top 10 would all be linked to that directory. Now Google looks at that directory now as an authority hub because all the top 10, all the important, vital ranking websites for Google are associating with that site. That makes it a hub for Google for that topic, especially because it's so tightly focused. So niche directories, I mean, I couldn't give these more of a thumbs up. These are really, really useful tools. Even if they're paid, I would say go after them because these can be some of your most powerful and easiest links to find. Now, outside of niche directories, I do still automate directory submissions as part of an overall linking strategy. Again, diversifying my link portfolio couldn't be more important, especially these days. So you can look at ranking websites. So say you have a website that, or say you have a keyword that you want to rank for, go ahead, look at the top 10 websites. You can use Yahoo Site Explorer, look at the backlink profiles, and look at the variety of domains that are in sites that rank versus sites that don't rank. And honestly, when you start to look at the number of domains, the number of root domains that link back to sites, the more powerful a site is, the more often you see there's 100 domains or 1,000 different domains or 10,000 different domains pointing back to that site. So having that diversity makes you a lot more powerful, because if I have 100 links from eZine articles, those 100 links aren't going to be as powerful as having 100 links from 100 different websites, even if I pull up all the PR for all those pages. Google just isn't going to look at those two things the same way. Now, this is a good tip just in case any of you haven't been aware of this, but if you use Yahoo's directory, and Yahoo's directory is still a good directory, it costs $300, so for a lot of people are like, whoa, $300, what am I going to pay $300 for one directory submission for? I'm going to tell you that this is a really good idea for you to do, especially if you have the money available to you. Now, Yahoo tells you to resubmit every single year, pay up another $300. My advice to you, and you didn't hear this from me, pay it once, stop paying it, and I'm just guessing off the cuff that they won't pull your listing if you don't repay. They're just not that advanced. They're not that sophisticated. So kick in once, pay your $300, and you have an indefinite listing in Yahoo's directory. I would also be considering paying for business.com. And to be honest with you, those are the only two general directories that I'll actually kick in any money for at all. The only ones I'll pay for outside of that are niche directories. Now, DMOZ, if you haven't ever submitted to DMOZ, this is the Google directory, the Open Directory project. If you just type in dmoz.org, I believe. I do submit to DMOZ. This is actually hard to get into, as a lot of you probably already know. I do tend to focus in on locals. Look for sections that do have an editor, and then go for a local, like whatever your locality is. See if there's a section there. See if it's updated, and submit to that, because those tend to get a lot more attention. So if you go to a directory and you submit into like the biggest, most popular directory out there, chances are your link will never get posted. If you go to like one of a lower level one, like a local, then you'll definitely have a much better chance of getting in. Now, the reason I say this is a DMOZ link isn't just a DMOZ link. There's a whole bunch of sites that scrape DMOZ for links, so they'll just scrape the entire directory and repost it on their site. So if I get one DMOZ link, I'm actually getting somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 or 30 total links because of all the sites that harvest content from there. So it's a really good link to get. So overall, I will tend to automate the directory strategy outside of hitting Yahoo and DMOZ and business.com, and I'll just do mass submissions. And I'll do this, again, as part of an overall linking profile, not as my only tactic. Now, if you're not already doing this particular tactic, and I'm on the blogging slide right now and talking about blogging in particular, I would say that this is probably something that's doing you a big disservice. Blogging is one of those things that's really come on in, I'd say, the past 3-4 years, and it's really good for you because it means a couple of things. It means dynamic content. Dynamic content is really one of those things that is very important for you in Google's eyes, because if your content's varying, if it's being updated, if it's being refreshed, then the chance of your site being crawled more often is a lot more significant. So if I go in and I update my content, my blog, once a week, once every 2 weeks, then it's going to really increase my crawl rate. Now, it's important that I have freshly cached pages because Google needs to know that this site is updated so it can go through and reference back to it as often as possible. This is also the reason why you want to set up your blog on your domain. So people ask, should I host it on WordPress? Should I host it on Blogger? It's okay to have those, but your main blog, the one that you're putting all your energy into, all your time into, you need to have that on your domain. So have it set up at www.website.com/blog, whatever it is, because whatever link value that's getting, whenever people link to you, you want that to come to your domain. You don't want it to go to WordPress or Blogger or some other source. Put your energy for your real valuable content definitely on your domain, because that's where you want the rank value to get pushed. Now, if you do host other blogs, so if you have a WordPress blog on WordPress.com, if you have a Blogger blog on their website, then use those, but use them as link funnels. Now, what I mean by that is take your content, take your articles, take whatever you may have, go out and put it on those blogs and then link it back into your site. So you're essentially creating a link funnel where you're creating content on a third-party site, you're linking to your site, and you're driving that rank deep into your website. Now, don't just link to your group domain. Make sure you're deep linking into your website so you're ranking through your website, not just to a single point. So having total rank across your domain, definitely a lot more valuable than having 90% of your rank at the root of your domain or your home page, which is a mistake that a lot of people do as well. The other thing that I would say is that you should interact with other bloggers. So with every given niche, there's always going to be somebody that stands out, a great blogger, somebody who gets followed a lot. It could be on Twitter, it could be on Facebook, it could be anywhere, but if I find that person, I'm going to interact with that person, and I'm going to develop a relationship, and this is a quality relationship with that person. It could be through comments, it could be through emails, it could be through me sharing content with that person, but if I develop that relationship, I can get to a point where I can really exchange content with them, and I can gain the value that that person has gotten from his followers or her followers over time by sharing content with that person. Now, the comments aspect of it can be outsourced, and that's definitely a lot more scalable than what I was just referring to. So for quality bloggers, I'm really going to put in that time to generate that relationship. But for blogs that are just out there that are on topic, and they don't even have to be on topic, if I want to go out there and I want to comment on blog after blog after blog, I do tend to outsource that, and I have outsourced that in the past, but I will outsource it to somebody who I know is quality and isn't necessarily going to go out and just spam. I mean, I want quality comments from somebody who reads the story and actually puts a meaningful comment in the story itself. So as often as possible, we try to comment on stories that are specific to our sites, but there are instances where we will comment on stories that necessarily aren't specifically on the niche that we're focused on. And of course, we do post backlinks to our website. Everybody always asks when I talk about this, well, they're all no-follow. Every blog that I check is no-follow. Well, you know what? I don't care. No-follow doesn't mean no traffic. No-follow just means does not necessarily pass full Google rank to that page. So I could put links in a blog which could send me traffic, especially if it's a popular blog, and traffic is traffic. Traffic is the same exact thing that I'm trying to get by ranking my web page on the internet for all these SEO tactics that I'm talking about. So if I can get 100 visits from the website and not have to rank a keyword, then that no-follow means absolutely nothing to me. Now, if you've ever used Wikipedia or if you've ever added content to Wikipedia, and I just did this week, we had this really, really great piece of content. I put it on a really high-profile page in Wikipedia as an external link, and within a day, I get 50 hits a day just from Wikipedia. And guess what? That's no-follow. And that's really great targeted content. So no-follow does not mean anything when it comes to these types of networks. Now, the other reason that blogging is, of course, important because it makes you an authority in your field. And this is kind of stepping a little bit outside of the SEO link-getting factors, but being an authority in your field gravitates links towards you. So what people often do is that they'll go out there, they'll do these tactics, but they'll do them, for lack of a better word, halfway. So if I go out and I kind of post halfway decent content, or if I go out there and I post like an article that I paid $4 for from some website, it's not going to give me any kind of authority, and it's not going to make me a resource in that niche that's going to give me any kind of benefit. So going through posting quality content is going to make me an authority in that field, and it is going to give me quite a few more links. So that was blogging. I also want to talk about social bookmarking. And I'm going to come back to social bookmarking later because this is a really important part of my strategy. If you're not familiar with social bookmarking, some people are, some people aren't. Basically, they're services that allow users to store favorite bookmarks on external sites. So you're basically saving your set of bookmarks in case your computer crashes, or you're saving a set of all your favorite websites in an external source. The reason I use this is because it increases my online presence. It allows me to get a presence in my niche, and it brings exposure to your content. So if you see that there's this person who's in my niche, and he's sharing all these bookmarks that are in my niche but not mine, then maybe I'll go through, I'll make sure that my website's added to the same category it is, and then I'll add all those other websites. So I'm building up a profile of similar websites, so when people come in, they see my profile, they see all the sites that are in it, maybe they'll add my site. It does bring in lots of traffic. Surprisingly enough, social bookmarking alone can drive quite a bit of traffic. And it does also pre-sell your visitors. It pre-sells your visitors in a sense is that it stages your topic. It stages the niche that you're in, and it gets them in the mindset of what to expect before they even get to that website. So instead of saying, you know, I don't know what this website is, it'll be tagged as like, you know, snoring. So there's a whole bunch of sites that are on snoring, and I have a site that's on snoring. Then they go there. They're already looking for information around this topic before they get there. Thousands of sites do this now. So social bookmarking isn't just a one-off, you know, Delicious like you used to see before. Delicious is one of the more popular ones. Some of these are, you know, Delicious, Multiply, Blink Lists, Stumble Upon. These are ones that are probably some of the more popular ones. The takeaway from this is, of course, if you're not there, your competition is there. That means they're getting exposure, they're getting the rank, and they're getting the links. So getting your content visible both gets you more links and it gets your content passed around. And so this social aspect of SEO has come into play because it makes your content a lot more shareable amongst other users. And that's where social bookmarking definitely does help. But it also is a very vital tool for me to get my content noticed, which I'll talk about later. Now, the things that you want to bookmark, and this is an important thing to note as well, of course you're going to bookmark your own website. So bookmarking your own website is brainless. When you have specials for products or services, bookmark that. So people have a tendency to just go in, I'm going to bookmark my website, and I've done all my social bookmarking. That's not the case. I bookmark deep links. I'll bookmark almost everything, to be honest with you. And as I go into this, you'll realize exactly how far we take this tactic. Major posts from my blog, I'll bookmark these. If I have videos or files that you generate, even if they're on YouTube, I'll bookmark that. If I have a Squidoo page or a hub page or a content page on another site, I'll bookmark those. So I'm not necessarily using this tactic to promote my website. I'm using this tactic to promote my content and my website. So even pages linking to my website, I will bookmark. The reason being is that I want that page that has a link to my site to be more valuable for me. So if I promote that page, it adds PR, it adds relevance, it adds Google, you know, whatever you want to call it, link juice to that website. That makes that link on their page more valuable, and that pushes more value to me. So I'm doing less work to make a link even better than it was before. Now, how do you do social bookmarking without spamming? Of course, you do want to bookmark other sites in your industry. So I'll go in, I'll find a niche, I'll follow other people's patterns of bookmarking, and I'll kind of mimic that as well as interjecting my content. You do want to try to bookmark your best content. That's a definite thing that you want to be aware of. You do always want to be adding value here. And if your content that you're bookmarking isn't valuable, then you have to ask yourself, why am I putting it out there? One of the tools that I use for this, it's a free tool. You can go out there and find it. It's socialposter.com. It's an automated posting service, 79 sites all at once. You can do that as well with Social Marker, although it doesn't work near as well as it used to, so I'll tend to use Social Poster a little bit more, even though it doesn't bookmark as many sites as Social Marker used to. Very manual tasks, not something that you're going to be super excited about doing, and this is ultimately what does tend to separate the types of people who can rank websites versus the type of people who have trouble ranking websites, is that they're willing to put the time and effort in to going through these processes that, you know, aren't necessarily the most glamorous of tactics, but these are the processes that are necessary to get websites listed high in the search engines. And the people that do get listed high, you can sure as hell bet that they're going through all these processes of bookmarking, of link getting, like what I've talked about up to this point. Social bookmarking is not my favorite thing to do, but I can tell you I'm not going to drop it from my tactics list because I know it works. Now, Online video is another one that continues to amaze me in terms of how powerful it can be. And I made reference to Wikipedia earlier, and that's one of those kind of things that's just a juggernaut. It's been out there forever, and the amount of traffic that goes into Wikipedia is huge, but the amount of traffic that goes out to Wikipedia to sites listed on it is also huge. And I would say the same exact thing about YouTube. The amount of traffic that goes into YouTube is massive. So the amount of traffic, the potential that you have to pull out of it is just as large. I saw a stat somewhere that YouTube is now the second largest search engine online right now. So having listings in YouTube gives you almost as good of a presence as having listings in Google, and they're almost synonymous these days as far as universal search goes. So you can own your keywords by ranking in YouTube alone, and I've known people who have done this. I'll talk about YouTube-specific tactics in a moment, but like any other page, if you build links to your videos, it will improve the rank of your videos. Now, I'll touch on specifics around that in a minute. Now, it's important to also note that YouTube is not the only video distributor out there. There's a website, it's a free website called tubemogul.com, where you can go in and you can syndicate your videos to other services out there. So Google Video, what other video sources are out there, you can get your videos listed in all those pretty much automatically through this tool. It's a no-brainer for me. Mass video distribution gets you more visibility. Those other networks, whereas they will not be YouTube's, they'll still get traffic. So I'll use this type of tool to syndicate my videos out. It also has some pretty neat tracking capabilities, so it's worth the time, and it doesn't take very much time. Now, when we look at YouTube in particular, the ranking in YouTube videos is actually kind of simple. The first thing that I would say to you is that when you go about making a YouTube video, and I'll talk about how to simplify that process as well, you do want to target terms that have universal search. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about, because you are kind of reverse engineering, because obviously not every single term is going to have universal search associated with it. So I'll go through, I have my list of terms that I want to rank for. I'll Google them. If I see video showing up in the search for that term, I flag it as a potential video I want to generate, or as a potential term I want to generate video content against. So if I say, snoring is a term I want to rank for, snoring has video results, then that tells me I should make a snoring video. Now the reason being is because I want to get my video listed in Google as a ranked video, because that immediately gets me noticed in YouTube, and it also gets me another position in Google Rank. I have terms that I have in Google right now that I'll have my #1 listing is my website, my #2 listing is either a page that has a link back to my website, or one of these Web 2.0 properties or third-party properties like Twitter, whatever it might be, and then I'll also own like one of the image results and one of the video results. And these are not for small-time terms. These are for hugely competitive terms. Now, understanding what the landscape of universal search looks like in these instances really gives you a leg up in understanding where to put your efforts. So don't develop a video just because you think it's the right thing to do. Develop a video and target a term because there's a tactical response by getting that visibility in the search engines. Now, with the most recent updates to YouTube, if you haven't been there, you haven't seen how they shifted things around, well, they pulled all the descriptions directly under the videos now. Now, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but where you can see it says Howcast, and it goes complete the task. It says take you where you need, whatever it says right at the end here. Right at the end of this little tiny description is where they're cut off at this point. So when they're cut off at 122 characters, and this is kind of important to note, because if you get your link or if you get your description that points back to your website in 122 characters, then people don't have to expand this whole chunk of content here to actually see what the link is back to your website. People overlook these things, same as meta tags. If your meta description is way too long, then it gets cut off in the search results. Think about this with YouTube too. So your listing, even if you start to get a lot of views, you have to think that how is that user experience for the people who are watching my video? can they see my link without actually expanding this? Because if you know with YouTube, you have a very, very short time frame to catch somebody's attention. If you catch their attention, you need to increase the chances of them getting back to your website. This is one of the real quick wins to do that. I think the changes that YouTube has made this a lot easier too. Now the other thing, and unfortunately I didn't show it here, if you click on that little number that it says 37,000, the number of views, if you expand that out, you can kind of reverse engineer YouTube too, because you can take a video that ranks for a term that you're interested in, and you can click on it and it tells you what terms drove traffic to that video from Google search. So you can say, okay, people came into this video through searching this term on YouTube or this term on Google. Now if you click on the number of views for any video in YouTube, you can get that information automatically. So you're not even having to like drill through anything. It's right in front of your face. I use that information to help me determine what to target as well. So that's where that does kind of become very important. So with videos that do rank, you can have a very specific title description combination that includes a keyword that really is the trigger to rank in YouTube. So we tend to go through, we'll copy tags of vids that are ranking, and again, if you expand this out, the tags are listed here. We'll copy titles of vids that are ranking. We'll really look at the profiles of videos that are currently ranking. We'll try a title, we'll try a description, we'll put it out there for a little bit. If that doesn't work, we'll pull the video, we'll post the exact same video again, change the titles, change the descriptions, and oftentimes just by changing that up a few times, you can really find the perfect mix of title and description that garners those really, really high view counts which you're looking for. So just kind of digging around a little bit in YouTube, ironically, is the best way to figure out how to get the best rank in YouTube. Also, as I mentioned, pointing links back to your YouTube's videos. Google owns YouTube, so Google's algorithm starts to play into YouTube to some extent. So make sure that you're linking back to your video with the keyword that you want it to rank for. Same as a web page. Don't change it up too much. So when you submit articles, when you go to directories, mix in links to your YouTube videos every once in a while. Also, there's ways to tag your videos. You've probably seen this in YouTube by now. You see call-outs, you see big boxes showing up that point URLs back. You can even make those clickable. Make sure you have calls to action in your YouTube video that bring people back. So some of the best videos say, okay, come back for my free report, or come back to my site for this free piece of content. Always make sure that you're building something with an intent of how to get them back and how to make money from it. Now, the last bullet that I have listed here just says Animoto. If you're not familiar with that, what I mentioned right when I started this slide is if you don't have a video player, if you don't have Camtasia or Cam Studio, which are screen capture type programs, that's usually how you can do this very quickly, or even a webcam, you can do this very quickly. This website, Animoto, you can actually build out a slideshow with a set of images, put music behind it, and you can have a video made in less than a minute. A lot of people will use that particular tool just to get videos up in YouTube as quickly as possible and start to try to pull traffic from it. So if you don't have any kind of capacity to create video, I would go to that Animoto.com website and have it created for you using their slideshow tool. They're actually pretty cool, to be honest with you. So if you have a niche that's very, picture heavy, it could be very successful. And we had instances of videos that were just pictures put in front of music that ended up being very high view count videos. Okay, so what about sites like rating websites? Now these can be good link getting websites, but they can also be very good traffic getting websites. They do get backlinks for hot topics. So people troll dig, and the amount of people that troll dig is amazing. They troll it for content, and when they see something that's interesting, what they'll do is they'll repost links to dig content on their blog. So if they find something that's cool, you'll see it referenced back, and the number of links that people will pull from a good dig listing is actually very high. They'll repost the story on their site, and you'll get the backlink. Now, dig isn't the only one of these. There's Propeller, Newsvine, Reddit, dzone, which is dig for web developers, and they all work off of the same basic premise. Put up a story, people rate it, and it's a popularity contest once again. I actually did a webinar on Dig not that long ago on how to dominate Dig, and it is one of the most fascinating, interesting systems that you'll see on the internet right now. Now, on face value, Dig looks like just any kind of basic website, but it is one of the most social interactive websites out there, and the people that go into it are so dedicated. You can see the people who are very, very popular, and if you know Dig at all, you'll know who Mr. Babyman is. And this guy will come on there, and he will literally dig 6,000 plus stories a day, which is amazing to me. So he will go in, not just view the stories, but he'll dig it and he'll comment on it. And the number of times that he does that is astronomical. I mean, if you think about the amount of time necessary to do that, it's amazing to me. But the upside is that now when he comes in and he posts a story, he immediately gets that story on the front page, and almost 9 times out of 10, it's up there for a very long time. So that guy understands Dig, and that guy understands how to make traffic come in from Dig. So the first listing in how to dominate Dig is to really comment and gain a network of friends, and that's what he did. He went in there and he became friends with people who were active users. And I just pulled a screenshot of somebody's profile, and if you look at any single moment where most of the people who have popular listings in Dig make posts, you can see that their listing of friends have active now in their list. Now, active now means they're literally on Dig at that very moment when that story is posted. Now, what you'll also notice is that a lot of the very active diggers who get popular stories don't have a lot of friends because this part of the network isn't that highly publicized. So building up any network of friends, especially an active one, really, really increases your chances of getting a story popularized. Now, if you don't know this, the other aspect that's interesting about Dig is that when you put a story in, you kind of would work under the assumption that it just goes into the front page in the queue and gets dumped out. What ultimately happens is that your story goes into like a queue environment for staging, and it gets like an initial pass in determining whether or not people think it's valuable enough. So what often happens is that people will stage your story before it even gets to page 1. If it doesn't make it past that staging environment, then you won't even have the opportunity to get onto page 1. So the more active people are in your profile, the easier it will be to get top listings. So once you start to dive into it, what you'll find out is when you have a network of users who are very active and Dig on your profile, you'll post up a story. The people who are your friends will see that story almost immediately. It'll pull you out of that staging environment very rapidly and greatly increase your chances of getting that front page listing. Now, if you know Dig, you'll see that not all front page listings are really, really good content. Some of it's interesting, some of it's junk, but those people understand this environment and understand what's necessary to get to page 1. So that brings me to second bullet is don't dig your own website. So go on there and you can try it. Feel free to do it. Post a link to your website in Dig and see how many people respond to it. You'll get like 3 views, you'll get a whole bunch of thumbs down, and it'll never go anywhere. Because that's because you ultimately don't necessarily understand that network. Now, what I would say, and this is probably the best tip that I could give you for using Dig, is that you should host your content on outlets that Dig always references. Now, there's a website called di66.net. You can go through and you can pull out some stats on Dig, basically Dig metrics. These are some of the ones that this is the one that I pulled out. I'm calling out in particular. You can see what is the most popular source for content that's posted on Dig. And by and large, YouTube.com is one of the #1 posts or one of the #1 content sources for Dig. So when people post up YouTube content, it greatly increases the chances of that content being dug. So what I would suggest to you is that don't dig your website. Dig a video that you put up on YouTube, or dig an image that you host on this imgur.com image hosting service, or PhotoBucket, or Flickr. The reason being is that people are 100% more likely to dig that type of content based off of actual data than trying to dig your own website, because you don't see, you know, Joe's Crab Shack website or whatever kind of website that you're running listed in the top domains that are referenced in Dig. You see content sharing websites. So use your content that's hosted in sources that Dig users like to get more publicity for your content. So that's knowing your audience, and that's understanding that network. That is really how you dominate Dig. And getting front page listings, huge, huge traffic bumps, and pretty good size bump in number of links too. So if you got the time, this is definitely something that I would consider doing. It's actually really, really cool network. Speaking of networks, that brings me over to social networking. So I'll let this one catch up. I'm lagging a little bit here. What I will say about social networks is you've probably heard more about social networks than any other one of these. Social networks as a whole gets mixed in with social media, and it all becomes kind of one big confusing mess. So I reference social networks as a very specific set of sites, or a very specific type of sites. I use social networks for very specific purposes too. I use them for brand management. Now, for some of these instances, this may not be something that we care about. Like Brad, for instance. Brad is a brand. BradCollin.com is a brand where you want to have ownership for. And if you Google his name, he's very aware of this. He has a Facebook page, a MySpace page, a Twitter page, a website, and he owns the search engine listings for his name, because he's aware that having visibility in MySpace and Facebook and all the major platforms and social networks gives you the easy capacity to rank for a brand especially. And it also helps you own the search engine. So anybody who has a business that has a specific name that people may Google at any point in time, social networking is vital to dominating page one for your name. So I would always use this for reputation management and for owning the search engines. Now, it's also important to establish relationships and establish yourself as an expert. Now, this means that you need to go in and you need to inform, contribute, educate people, but don't sell to those people. So you're using social networks and you're using groups in social networks. Facebook is a huge example for this. Look in the groups, look for your niche, and get involved in groups that are highly public, highly popularized in there, and make yourself a name. Make yourself well known in that group, because that's how you can easily go in and start to manipulate search or social networks to your favor. And these things are traffic tanks just as much as Dig or any of the other sources out there. But I use them, like I said, for brand management and just as amazing traffic sources. This is where content sharing is at its best. Make sure you're going with really good quality content. Quality content, and I've said this, I was in a meeting earlier today where you get in instances where you're working, you're in a consulting environment, and people are like, I need to rank #1 for this term. And I'm like, what do you have? What do you have to give? What are you bringing to the table for people to help them rank? A lot of times it's nothing, but when somebody comes to me and they say, I spent all this time developing this really awesome quality piece of content. Maybe it's a training series, maybe it's a video set that's just, it really helps the end users for that niche. If I have that, links come to me. I don't have to chase links. I can pick up the phone and I can call 10 webmasters in that niche, and I can say, guess what I got? Your end users are going to love this. Post it on your website. That is really how I can pull big traffic from things like social networks, is when you really have value to offer. Now, on a tactical level, you can use social networks, and you don't see Facebook listed here because Facebook is, login only, does not index profiles in Google, so it is not a link-getting tool. It's a traffic tool. In terms of link getting, you can link in your MySpace About Me profile with anchor text. You can find related groups and interact with friends. Flickr, image traffic. This was one of the ones that didn't necessarily make the cut, so to speak, just because we have so much stuff here. I upload product shots, screenshots. I put links in descriptions. I submit images to groups. Image traffic is actually really huge, and image rank in and of itself is really huge. I wish I had more time to talk about it, but I don't right now. So unfortunately, maybe Twitter, I'll post updates. I use Twitter as like a conduit, so if I'm using Facebook or if I'm using other outlets, I'll feed in my content to Twitter. I'm not a huge proponent of Twitter because I haven't seen a great ROI on it up to this point, but I do use it as a traffic tool. High Five, same thing, link in the About Me. Friendster, yeah, that's still around, link in the About Me. Those are all networks where I use these things, when I have time, as they're available to help diversify my link profile. Okay, so that brings me to one that's really focused on anybody who has an e-commerce type website. This is a link getting tool for mostly your type of end user. These are referral and review networks. These are the types of websites where if you have products, you want people to go in and rate them. Users will go in, they'll set up accounts, and they'll recommend products or services to other users. Like ePinions would be an example of one. Very, very popular for fashion-based industries, and it's basically using reviews as pre-sale mechanisms. I'm not going to go into detail on the lamb handbags one. I thought I might have time, but I don't want to do that right now. But if you do have, like I said, if you do have, especially if you have a fashion-based industry product line, or if you have an e-commerce product line in general, I will use these types of websites to go out, try to get reviews. I'll solicit reviews in some cases to build up my credibility and pump me up in those types of networks to help me get noticed a lot faster. Now, the one that I really do like, and it's a really, really quality traffic source, can be outsourced. It's a good link getting tool, and it's a good all-around authority building type tool, and that's Q&A sites. Q&A sites are definitely excellent traffic sources. In some cases, push quality links. You're basically using questions to help develop new product and marketing approaches. So I'll go into something like Yahoo Answers, which I'll talk about in a minute, and I'll post in on a regular basis. I'll carve out time. I'll carve out a half hour or an hour to just answer questions, and I'll constantly do this day after day after day, and I'll build up my authority in those types of networks. And Yahoo is actually a really good example. If you build up a certain level of authority, you will be allowed to post links back to other people, whereas in some of the other Q&A type networks, you may not be allowed to do that. So in Yahoo Answers, if I add enough value, Yahoo actually turns around and rewards me. So Yahoo Answers is a really, really good source of this. If you're feeling a little racy, I guess you could say, you can actually go out and you can buy somebody else's Yahoo Answers account who already has been accredited to the degree which will allow you to post back to post links back in your answers. Now, Yahoo Answers, even if you don't get that link back, can be really good traffic sources. Now, if you want links, Yetta is an example of one that you can go in, you can answer questions today, and you can put anchor text in, and these links do stick. I have Yetta links in my profiles that come back from, I don't know, like a year or two ago. The other thing that I forgot to mention is Yahoo Answers. If you go into Yahoo Answers and you put in a really great answer, your answer will stick in the index pretty much forever. And you can post a link. It may not be an anchor text link in your answer. If it's relevant, it'll stay there. If you post an answer and it doesn't get chosen as the best answer, it will tend to fall out of the index. So going in with quality in Yahoo Answers is really important. Wiki Answers, same kind of thing as Yahoo. You can answer and put a web link in. WikiHow, Wikipedia, you can add in reference links to relevant pages. Wikipedia, of course, totally proud, so don't try to sneak stuff in. It'll get yanked out right away. But if you get something in that necessarily is really relevant, great traffic source. And then eHow, finding relevant topics and then going in and commenting on them. I use these on quite a regular basis, to be honest with you. And I find the Q&A sources are one of the, I guess you can say, one of the more limitless link sources that are out there. I've never run out of right places to find links using those websites.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Just a quick question. Do you usually ever create your own question in Yahoo Answers and then select yourself as the best answer?
I've seen it done. If you start walking into those kind of situations, then that's when you start having to thinking about things like proxies. So I go in as one proxy, and I'll answer, and then I'll switch proxies, so it looks like I'm coming from different IPs, and it kind of really complicates it. And to be honest with you, I find that if I'm going in and I'm answering questions that I'm comfortable answering, because the number of questions that are available to answer is so high that I can just pick and choose and say, I totally know this one, I'm going to answer it, or I'll outsource it to somebody and I'll give them the instructions of, don't BS your answer. Go out and find the legitimate response to this question before you answer it. So I tend to just favor that because I don't want to pay for proxies and I don't want to spend the time switching or anything. Okay, so that brings me to, I guess you can say, the big dog of the presentation, which would be content sharing. And this is where I'd say the meat of most link campaigns really falls. These are sites which will allow you to create or upload content to their domain. This is going to cover quite a few different entities, but it's going to really be the strongest part of most link campaigns, and it has been for I don't even know how many years. It greatly increases your online presence, greatly increases your brand or your name share, and it allows you to have multiple Google Page 1 listings. So we've touched on some of these as we've gone through. We talked about things like Wikipedia. Those are necessarily content sharing websites. But these particular ones, some of them will pass link value, some of them will pass just traffic value, but all of them are good places to get more visibility in search. More visibility means more traffic. So I'm going to talk about some of the content sharing websites, and then I'm going to talk about some of the other places that you can use this content to get more visibility for the same piece of content multiple times. There's a little bit of a lag here. I'm sorry. I'm just waiting for it to catch up. Okay, so some of the better content sites to use, and you've probably seen these, and these have been as good or as bad as anybody can guess over the past couple of years, like Squidoo and Hum Pages. They probably have reached their peak. It doesn't mean that I'll stop using them. But they're not passing as much link weight as they used to pass. It's a lot harder to get stuff listed in them as it used to be, but it doesn't mean that they're worthless endpoints. These content sharing websites are still places that I will take article content and I will resubmit it. And that's why having good content becomes very important to me, especially with like a Squidoo Lens or a Hub Page. I mean, to keep those listed in those sites these days and the amount of policing that there is there, you really need to go out there with something that's quality. And in doing so, it's going to give you a lot more link value pointing back to your website. Now, some examples of how effective this type of thing is, I did two that I pulled out. The WooYee, which I don't even know what that is, but apparently it was talked about on Oprah at one point in time, so it made it an extremely popular search product. And I actually pulled the actual search data for that term so I could show you exactly how interesting this is, to me at least. So somebody could come in, they could not have a website, they could just go on a hub page, and they could rank for a term that is actually kind of a competitive term, relatively speaking, in the search market. It's not necessarily something you can just go in, dump a page in, and you can rank immediately. So this particular term, the top listing is The Truth About YET, and it's a hub page. So it's a page that somebody set up for free, dumps some content on, and guess what? It ranks #1 for a term that gets 12,000 global searches a month, 7,000 searches in the U.S. alone. And that's a hub page alone. So they could have the second page, the third page with their own website, but just going in and posting that quality content, pointing a few links back to it, it's pumping up the value of that particular page, and those get listed. Those have value in the search engines because they're pulling from the overall strength of the hub page's domain. It'll be easier to rank content on hub pages than it is to rank on your own website. Same as the Wikipedia principle. The domain wikipedia.org is so strong when long-tail terms come up, it's so easy for them to rank with no extra work. Well, you're using the weight of hub pages and Squidoo to garner rank to those pages. So if you have quality content, get it posted, just like this one, the Ab Lounger one. They actually have the first 2 listings for a term that gets 12,000 searches a month. So these are long-tail terms that are basically owned by content-sharing websites. Now, there's a lot of places where you could do this. I know you probably have lists of Web 2.0 sites. I'll talk about some of the Web 2.0 sites here. I'll actually have a list coming up in a few slides of some of the ones that I use. But it's not just Squidoo. It's not just hub pages. So when you do get content, and I'm talking mostly about articles, so most people will get content in the form of articles. They'll have articles written. They'll write articles themselves. They'll generate content through whatever means necessary. When you have that article content, what do you do with it? Now, there's a lot of places where you can use this content. Let's talk a little bit about just working under the assumption that you're launching a site or you're getting ready to start promoting something. Here's the type of things that I do when I'm first starting out this whole process. I usually start with somewhere around the neighborhood of 10 to 15 articles. These are really good quality articles, something that I'd be happy to put in my hand, share with a friend of mine, read right in front of me. So that means it's something that I don't necessarily outsource to a place where it's going to cost me $4 for 400 words, and once I go back and read it, it's obvious that that person does not speak native English. I mean, I want something that I'm very proud of to start working from here. The first basic thing that I will do with these is perform article submissions in the same fashion that you've probably already done article submissions forever. I'll also use these in some more innovative ways that I'll talk about, such as converting them over to PDFs, PowerPoints, and I'll show you where you can use those. And then, as I talked about with hub pages, utilizing these Web 2.0 properties to really get more visibility for my content in as many different channels as I possibly can. So this is how I do start to really kind of gain as much ground as I can using my content and really care. And this, as I mentioned earlier, carries the bulk of the load for most of my link getting techniques. So content is, as many of you probably have heard, probably know, king by and large. Now, what I mean by that is that it gives you the best flexibility to get links, to interact with people, and to share this content that's going to give you quality backlinks in other places. So article submissions is probably the one that people are the most familiar with, and these are going to be old hat to a lot of you. So using tools like iSnare, I do submit to iSnare still. It's still a good service. I tend to not consider iSnare to be my only outlet. I'll submit to iSnare, but also manually submit to Go Articles, to eZine Articles, and to Article City. eZine Articles probably being one of the bigger of the bunch. iSnare says that it submits to these, but I will manually submit to them as well because I've never really seen them actually pull through. I have articles just in eZine Articles alone that get me somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 600 hits a month. These are very general articles that were written on a term that got very high search volume. That page that eZine Articles has that content in it doesn't even actually rank in the top 10. So those views come in from people who are searching in other outlets, who dig through the search engines, who search directly in eZine Articles. So not only was that a great link for me, but it's also a great traffic source for me. Now, obviously, the basis for the intent of article submissions is that you're syndicating your content out to these directories where webmasters will come through, harvest that content, and repost it on their own websites. The link back to your website in the About the Author box is largely where you'll gain the link weight or the link value that Google's going to pass back to you. Of course, as we know, is that process is essentially broken at this point. We don't necessarily see a lot of people coming by and saying, I need fresh content, I'm going to go to eZine Articles. So that part of the story doesn't necessarily always connect. So as a result, you can't just use article submissions as your primary endpoint. I'll talk about some of the other challenges around article submissions as I move forward, but the big thing to know is that that can't be the only place you use this content. I will use this content in secondary web properties. Now, these are things like Squidoo and hub pages, but they're also things like Zimbio, Gather, associated content. These are all content sites where you can go in, you can create an account, and you can add content. So the same articles that I'll republish in eZine Articles or iSnare, I will consider and suggest to you to spin this content to make it more valuable. So what I mean by spin is you're altering your title, you're altering your
your description or your lead-in, you're altering the actual content itself to appear unique to the search engines. So a lot of times when you see spun content, you'll see spun content in the form of, substituting out adjectives or substituting out whole paragraphs. You do have to have a pretty good spin, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% or more in most cases, to get that content past the search engines. Now, the idea is that you're eliminating duplication of content in search to prevent that from actually causing you a decrease in the amount of links that you can gain. Now, I want to dispel a myth here, since I'm talking about duplicate content, just to say that duplicate content does not exist. Duplicate content will exist at a site level, and I can confirm this. So if I have a website and I have 100 pages and 10 of these pages say the exact same thing, Google will manually go in and filter out 9 of those pages because the content is essentially duplicated. The main flag for that is the title is the same and some of the content appears the same, so like the descriptions could be exactly the same. That's the first thing that's going to flag me for duplicate content according to Google, and that is on-site. That is not off-site. So when we're talking about off-site, duplicate content is essentially a myth, and it's not a myth because it doesn't occur. It's a myth because our interpretation of it is not correct. The reality of duplicate content is that it's not duplication of content that prevents multiple listings. It's competition that prevents multiple listings. So in the same way that you're not going to have 10 people rank for fat loss for the same exact term in the same exact spot, you're not going to have 10 people rank for your article because it's the same exact keyword, the same exact title, and the same exact focus. So by design, Google's algorithm will basically say, here's 10 pieces of content, which one is the best suited to rank for this particular topic, and it's going to pick not based on duplication, but based on total site value, total link profile, to say this one's the best and that one's doesn't matter as much. So that is not a duplicate content issue at all. It's a purely competitive issue. So when we spin content, we're averting the competition that comes with competing against another person that has the exact same title, the exact same topic, the exact same content even, and I'm spinning my content, I'm making my titles unique, I'm making my content unique, thereby bypassing the competition from my article showing up on that other website or in this other Web 2.0 property. So I hope that's clear, because that's a big myth that gets passed around a lot, and it is absolutely not true. It is not duplication that flags you, it's competition. And when you think about it with the algorithm, it makes perfect sense. That's exactly what you would expect Google to do. So spinning helps you bypass that, and I'll talk about spinning in a little bit as well. The other one that a lot of people overlook, and this is actually a really good way to alleviate duplication of content, is PDF and PowerPoint submission. So there's actual directories on the web that just harvest in PDF content or just harvest in PowerPoint content. So I will take my articles and I'll convert them over to PDF, and I'll submit them to sites like Scribd and FreeIQ. And the beauty of PDF content is that Google will actually index a PDF. So if I have links in a PDF, they can potentially get indexed past value, and PDFs themselves can rank. I've seen it happen. There's actually a PDF-specific sort option in Google. If you know how to go into the advanced search options, you can filter out for PDF files. For large corporations, oftentimes, I do see PDFs ranking for pretty substantial terms. So in the same way that, if I have content like this that I want to rank, I will build links back to it because, I want it to be more valuable in search. I want to gain more positions. Same exact thing with PowerPoint. I will convert my articles over, I'll dump them in Word, and I'll do like a slideshow with them. I tend to change them around a little bit to make them more interactive. But I will utilize the value of a site like SlideShare to try to piggyback off their page rank, their site value, to get more value for myself. So that's a resource there that I will use with existing content. That's something that I find a lot of people don't necessarily use, but these are really good directories that aren't nearly as spammed as eZine articles or even iSnare. And you'll notice that it's a lot easier for you to do that to piggyback and get additional value off content that you've already been using, whereas it's just been burning a hole in your hard drive up to this point. So revisit some of that old content that you have lying around and say to yourself, can I use this in a Web 2.0 property? Can I use it in Scribe? Can I use it in SlideShare or reuse it there? These are big places where I see a lot of people kind of dropping the ball. They're kind of selling themselves short in how much they use that content that they spend a lot of time and energy on, or money for that matter. So this is the piece that I find is the missing piece for a lot of people. And I kind of touched on it, but this part actually, I think, puts it a little bit together. So where a lot of people do tend to drop the ball is they'll go through and they'll do article submissions, they'll do YouTube submissions, they'll do Web 2.0 properties, but after that point, that stuff is just left alone. For valuable things like videos or a hub page or a Squidoo lens, I will build links to those properties because I want those properties to rank. So I have multiple tactics associated with these things. So for the low-hanging fruit ones, so like a Zimbio or something that I know isn't necessarily going to rank, I may not be building links to it with the intent that it's going to rank. I may put it out there. I know it's going to pass some rank over to my websites, but I don't expect it to really take a search engine position. But for something like video or something like a large property where I do expect it to compete against larger websites, I will build links to that. So when I'm going through this process, and I've hit on a multitude of different steps. So I talked about Craigslist, classified ads, YouTube, blogging, blog commenting. I will keep track of wherever I submit links. So I will have an Excel sheet open, and when I put a link up on a blog, so if I actually just put a blog comment up, or if I submit a link and Yahoo Answers in one of the Q&As, I will copy that URL and I'll put it into a spreadsheet. And I'll keep track of every single place that I have gotten a link. Now, when I go through and I have this list, I have all the profiles that I've ever set up, all the articles I've ever submitted, all the comments I've ever done. I will take every single one of those URLs and I will put them into a bookmarker like Social Marker or Social Poster, and I will social bookmark them. So I'm beefing up my link profile manually. This is a very, very manual task. It takes a lot of time, but you know what? If my link profile is worth X today and I do this, tomorrow my link profile will be X plus 10 or X plus 20 or 30. I'm greatly enhancing the power of my link profile just by doing this particular tactic. So just submitting your content is not enough. And that's actually, believe it or not, that's actually stage one of the process of promoting my content. So it doesn't necessarily just end there. So when my content's out there, I have this massive list of all the places that I've ever actually generated a link. So whatever that might be, whatever the tactic associated with that is, I keep track of that, and I keep very detailed Excel charts to say, here's the link, here's when I bookmarked it, and then I move on to the next one. So the other thing that I also keep track of is RSS. So when we're talking about my YouTube channel as an example, so when I submit 5 videos to my YouTube channel, I'll pull the RSS feed for it, and then I'll submit my RSS feed through an RSS submission tool. And there's a ton of them out there. Just go grab one. I mean, they're a horse apiece. They all pretty much do the same thing. You're now using RSS directories to help promote your content. I'll also keep track of any additional RSS feed that contains a link back to my website. Now, keep in mind, when I'm saying this, I'm saying every RSS feed. So if I have a blog that has a link to my website, I will pull the RSS feed for that blog, and I will put it through an RSS submission tool. Again, I'm beefing up the value of the links that were created in my profile. Now, I will do the same exact thing with a ping tool. So every single link that's on my spreadsheet, I will ping that link. Now, a lot of you are probably sitting on the phone saying, whoa, that's a lot of work. But I'll tell you what, if I go through this process, now I haven't even talked about at least 5 or maybe even 10 of the other link getting tactics that we do on a regular basis. If I go through this process with the ones that I have listed in this slide deck, you will get huge traffic for terms that you didn't think you even had capacity to rank for. I mean, those last three pieces, the social bookmarking, the RSS promotion, and the pinging, are pieces that people don't necessarily usually do, but they're pieces that will add a whole bunch of value. They're a lot of work, but ranking is a lot of work, and the people who do rank right now have put the work in, so you need to unseat them. So I will do this, especially for competitive terms. I will go to this extent to try to unseat a competitor, and this works. I can guarantee you it works, and I have proof that it works, actually. So the takeaways are, when you're looking at things like this, you really need to understand that this is a lot of work. This is quite a few pieces that are moving around, but keep in mind when you start to think back into your head of what we talked about. We talked about YouTube. I showed you 3 ways to do that. We talked about content generation. You can write your own content. We talked about free classified sites. We talked about Web 2.0 properties. We talked about blogging, blog commenting. When you start to recap what I've discussed into your head, ask yourself how much of this is actually going to cost you any money. And I don't even think I've presented anything that costs you anything but time up to this point. So anybody who's sitting there thinking like, I can't make money online, or I haven't gotten to a point where I've been successful online, I've just talked for the past hour and change through a set of tactics which you can implement tomorrow. No additional money, only time, which I can absolutely guarantee will generate you more traffic that you've gotten using any other tactic up to this point. So this generates a ton of traffic, and all you really need to do is to monetize that traffic. That's another webinar. I can't even go into those details, but this is link getting, traffic generation at its purest. So your results on big sites like Hub Pages and YouTube, like I said, will do much better with links pointing to them. Try and keep content in each channel as unique as possible, so that's where the spinning piece comes in. And like I said, this is just some of the methods that we use. So all the tools that are available to us, like I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, I'll use as many as I possibly can get my hands on. I diversify my link profile, and I do this because I know it's going to get me a whole bunch of new domains. So the real question is, and I'm sure a lot of people are asking yourselves this, is how do we as a group take these types of tactics to the next level? Now, the next level of this is actually pretty impressive, to be honest with you. I mean, it's something that we've been working for and working towards for quite a few years now. So we've used these tactics, and we've seen certain things like Web 2.0 properties throw up no-follow links, whereas yesterday they'd be generating a ton of traffic for us and a ton of link weight for us, and today they throw up a no-follow link. These things are going to continue to happen. Google is going to continue to devalue certain things like article directories in terms of value. So we said to ourselves, we need a better method to do this. So we went through and we developed this tool where we started to beta test. And when we beta test, we put out a new site, and we really started to ramp up this tool. And we went from, on a site that was brand new, you can see it was in November, late November '09, we went from 257 backlinks to 30,000 backlinks in a little over 3 months. That is an astonishing number. I mean, that's huge, huge numbers of backlinks. If you go through the whole process that I just went through in terms of link getting tools, I don't even know that we could get to that point with everything that I've discussed alone. In addition, those backlinks created actual value for us. I mean, we moved from position 50 plus to #1 on Broadmatch for a term, which is hugely competitive. And when I say hugely competitive, we're talking 3-4K searches a month or a day here. At that point, we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,558 visits a day within 3 months of launch. So just kind of put those ideas, those concepts into your head, and think again about what it would take to get to that point with the tactics that we've discussed. Again, huge numbers of backlinks. Obviously, as we talked about, Google weights those very heavily. The guy who has the most links with the most keyword anchor text usage is going to get the best rank. We know rank equals traffic. So how do we do this? We did this with article marketing, believe it or not, but it's not your traditional article marketing that we used. Traditional article marketing has quite a few challenges associated with it. Very limited visibility. So you're going to just article directories. And as we talked about, article directories in and of themselves are a dying breed. You submit to eZine articles, you'll get traffic from eZine articles, but there isn't going to be webmasters picking up those articles like we once hoped. If you look at the profile of submissions for iSnare, how many of those websites are PR0? Or if they were a PR3 or 4 a year ago or 2 years ago, Google is devaluing these sites over time. To an extent, exactly what they're doing with directories. These are content depots which Google once valued very heavily. No longer is that the case. So there's massive duplication of your results. Massive duplication, as I discussed, is massive competition and people trying to rank for your content. So what that tells you is that once where you had a piece of content that you put out there and you could rank it very easily across multiple domains, now it's getting a lot harder to carry as many links for a single piece of content. So I had a piece of content that would go out there. I know I would get 1,000 links for it. Remember the days when you'd submit article content, you could get 1,000 links from a single piece of article content? That's absolutely not the case anymore. Now, the other thing is that we're losing control of this content. This is one that I put together, I don't even know how many years ago. This was you can check the domain. I don't even own that domain anymore, but it was an article I wrote on credit card expenses. This guy scraped eZine articles for my content, reposted it on his website. He ranks number 2 for it. He's been number 1 for this term, credit card expenses, for I don't even know how long with my article. And you look at the article, and he's pulled all the links from my article out. Every single person on this phone call probably has been in that situation where their article has been scraped, their links have either been swapped out for another domain or totally stripped, so the time and the effort that you put into all these processes that I talked about give you no benefit at all. This was something that we were running into more and more, and something that we basically just needed to stop. So we asked ourselves the questions of what can we do here? What methods do we have to bypass these systems? I mean, article marketing is article marketing. It's been there forever. How do we improve upon, the base system that's been used for years and years? So maintaining current article techniques are basically going to get us nowhere, and we knew that. And as the years go on, this is just going to get worse and worse. So we needed to expand our submission locations to new places. We needed to diversify our content to new domains, and these had to be quality domains. They couldn't be content farms like we were using right now. And we needed our article marketing to be more scalable, something that we could do on a regular basis. And we needed to be able to use and get more value out of the content that we had. So in doing so and walking through this entire process, going through this practice together and understanding that, we just weren't getting as far as we used to, we developed a tool which we call SEO Linkvine. And some of you may or may not be familiar with this tool, but if you're not familiar with it, let me tell you a little bit about it. Basically what we did was we said to ourselves, if we can't get value from article networks now, what if we created a network of sites? What if we created a network of real websites for content sharing and link getting? So instead of me saying, I'm going to submit to this website that has 10,000 articles in it already, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to submit to this good quality content website that's run by somebody like you or myself, and that website's going to post a link back to me. Very, very different story as far as Google's concerned. That website's a total value site compared to the others. Now, we're talking about in-context anchor text links. So we're not talking about the author box. We're not talking about footer links. We're talking about quality anchor text links in the body of the content, the kind that Google looks for. Their algorithm is actually driven to find these types of links. This is what we set up. The other thing that's super cool about this process is that we fully automated the submission process, and the process is ongoing, making it scalable. So if you go to articles or iSnare right now and you submit your article, it goes out to, say it goes out to 1,000 websites. I don't even know if that's the case. If it goes to those 1,000 websites, what happens to it then? You're done with it. You don't have another shot at it. When we developed SEO Linkvine, we asked ourselves, well, what happens if our network grows? What happens if more sites get added? What we did was we programmed a process in where as new sites come on board, you get more opportunities for continued submissions. Now, in addition to that, not only did we create an ongoing growth network which automatically syndicates to new sites as they're added, we created one of the best article spinners on the market today. So if you've used an article spinner before, you know that you go in, You click spin article, and it spits out a whole bunch of crap. I mean, a lot of times the spun version isn't necessarily readable. It's not something that's easy to do either. You have to go in, you have to put in tags. Well, the article submitter that we built, or the article spinner that we built, very super user-friendly. It's something that you can go in, you can swap out using our thesaurus. It's automatically one click. You can pick which terms associated with your articles are the best ones to substitute in. You can automatically sub in new titles, new sections of content without having to understand any kind of code to spin it, and you get spun versions of your article very, very rapidly. And now, where you had one article before using a tool like iSnare, now you have 4 versions of your article that are automatically done. This can happen in literally less than 5 minutes. You can spin one article to 4 versions of your article, and the beauty of this is that SEO Linkvine will submit every single version of your article to all the possible outlets in the content site network. So you're greatly increasing the number of legitimate backlinks that you can receive. So article marketing now, you were just getting that one crack at it and putting it out there, and whoever picked it up, whoever listed it, and then the sites that did list it were competing against each other to pass link value back to you. Now with SEO Linkvine, you have multiple unique versions of your content that's submitted to much better quality websites in our network, and those websites are listing better quality links, in-context links. So now for every article, I'm getting multiple unique versions, automated submissions to content sites, constant resubmission to new websites, and in-context links. These are links that stick. These are links that are going to be the type that Google goes out and looks for and puts the most weight on. Now, the other beauty thing about this network is not only is it going to be one of your best link getting tools, and I can attest from my own experience and the data that I showed you earlier, 30,000 links we pulled from these types of networks. SEO Linkvine is going to be one of the most valuable tools out there. Now, not only is it one of the best link getting tools, it's also a tool for almost endless content availability. So instead of using a source like eSign Articles, you can put sites in this network that will grow automatically. So as people add in quality content to the network, your site that you add to the network can automatically capture new content from end users, which you can choose to monetize as you like. So I can add sites just like you can add sites, which will automatically grow in value over time as more users get added and more people submit more content. So I can use AdSense, I can use affiliate offers with sites that will automatically grow. So that's SEO Linkvine, and as I said, this is probably one of the most innovative tools that I've seen come out of Brad's office, and I don't know how long. And I've been with him for a while now, seeing things like SEO Elite, Keyword Elite, Affiliate Elite, very innovative tools, which is what Brad's known for, and they've really changed the way that we actually approach link building. And I think as I dropped off, you already saw this, so hopefully there's still spots left, but I can say that we have put together some special pricing plus a really, really amazing bonus package just for you guys alone. This is limited to the first 30 users who actually go and check out SEO Linkvine, so I would highly suggest you jump over to SEOLinkVBonus.com to see what we have to offer. So with that being said, I will kick it back to you, Mark, see if we have any other questions or anything.
Sure. I'm just going to let people know just a little bit about the bonuses, just really quickly. I talked to Brad, and he actually offered me one bonus, and then I went back to him and asked if he could do a little bit more. Then I went back to him and asked if he could do more, and this is the most that he could provide. He's told me to limit the bonuses to 30 users because he has to set up separate registration codes for each user for the software that he's giving you as bonuses. They normally sell for, one of them is an article submitter software that will allow you to submit to over 200 article directories with one click. So instead of paying something like iSnare, instead of paying them like a monthly fee, you simply have this software, and every time you want to get links from regular article sites, although it may not be as effective as SEO Linkvine, it still has some effect. You just press a few buttons and you get your article submitted. You also get his Directory Submitter Gold software that allows you to get a whole lot of links from different directories. Once again, instead of paying a monthly fee to some other site that will submit to different directories, you're being able to do it in a semi-manual fashion, but he automates all the areas of it that he possibly can. You're able to do it using the push of a button, using his software there. You also get his press release fire software, which is, it's not software, it's an ebook which reveals the technique that took Brad Callen, one of his websites, which was brand new, to the #1 spot on Yahoo and Google in less than 24 hours. So you're going to learn how he does it using the power of press releases. You're also going to get SEO Mindset by Brad Callen, which is his in-depth course, step-by-step. It's around about, I think it's 127 pages, and it teaches you step-by-step how to get a high search engine ranking using all of the strategies that Brad Callen uses and this happens to be Jason's partner in this particular project, by the way, that Brad Callen uses to get high search engine rankings. And he's one of the world's most renowned search engine optimization experts, and it's full of priceless search engine optimization knowledge. So if you thought that this webinar contains great value, you'll learn even more in this particular book, and it's very well written. And then beyond that,
yeah, I worked on that book. I can't believe he's given that away.
Yeah, so it's pretty good value, really. And on top of that, I've thrown in a couple of great bonuses of my own. I've actually spent months hounding different pay-per-click millionaires. I actually attended various live conferences that were attended by super affiliates, and I got these particular affiliates to reveal their secrets to me via audio and video-based interviews. They're not any old audio interviews. They're actually, like, I didn't make these interviews with put it this way, like, they build on each other. I didn't just assume each individual interview was just going to be targeted at newbies. Now, that's not to say that the first 15 minutes or so of each interview doesn't cover a lot of newbie strategies, but the thing is, I really wanted to just get a whole lot of info for myself that I would use, like the golden information, like what made them make over $1 million a year from pay-per-click. And I managed to uncover secrets that you just don't hear anywhere else. So there's a lot of great strategies for driving paid traffic to your websites. And I've included PPC Millionaire Confessions Volume 1 and Volume 2 as also as bonuses as well. So these are available for the next 30 people that join. So it won't be available for too long, but I strongly recommend that you guys check this out. Okay, guys, thanks again for all of you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.